hello there. Mama chitawa Hikekana kayata semaya Hawana mena wapikini Wawene wapikini Wawene mawakone no
You know, we're honored to have Shawn here. Imagine right now people showed up with guns outside. And we said, you have to leave this festival, go. They harmed some of us, and we all had to leave right away. They followed us to our homes. A week later, they said, you have to leave here right away. You have 24 hours to go. You can only take with you what you can carry. And you have to go very far, 1,000 miles from here. And you could never come back to your home in your lifetime. That happened to you just now, imagine that. And you died there 1,000 miles from here. And then 11 generations later, your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson came back to this land to share teachings that were sacred to you when you lived here.
What a great honor. And my brother, John, to bring, I think he's gonna get me choked up, no. To honor my people and to honor myself and for me to be a representative of my people who once lived in this land here. I'm going to start out with telling you a little bit more of the history of the Mohican people. You might know us originally to be called as the Mohicans, but it's actually pronounced Mohican. And even though there was a movie and a novel written about it, it's fiction. You know, we are still here. We live in Wisconsin right now on a reservation by our brothers, the Menominee, and by the Oneida. There's a Wisconsin Oneida group that traveled over there with us. But our story starts more than 14,000 years ago. And it was told by one of our old chiefs in 1854 Reidsville, New York, 4th of July address, when he had spoke that our people came to this land. And when I say this land, the land was all the west side of the Hudson River, all the way up to Lake Champlain, east, over into the east side of the river, from Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, all the way down to Manhattan Island was our nation's land. But before we came here, there's a story before we came here. We came here from a land that was of great waters, of big, huge, great waters that were never still. And the word Mohican means great body of water that is unstill. It's kind of hard to explain in English. It doesn't flow in one direction like a river. It doesn't sit still like a lake. And when we came into the Hudson Valley, what's called the Hudson Valley today, we came upon the Hudson River. And noticing the Hudson River, we watched it, and when the tides from the ocean would come in, the river would flow upstream. And then when the river, the tide would go out, the river would flow downstream, so it never went in one direction. It was never still, it was always busy. And we said to ourselves, this is it. This is just like the land we came from, the great tidal waters that were never still. Now, in some of our old stories, they've been manipulated by Christian missionaries and stuff to make us believe that we came across the Bering Strait, actually, from Asia. You know, but 14,000 years ago, when you think about great waters that were unstill, it's actually, you look over to the Great Lakes area, and the word Mohican is the same exact word as Michigan, you know, and Lake Michigan, and the great waters, the Great Lakes is where they are. But if you imagine 14,000 years ago, at the end of the Ice Age, it was even greater back then. And water would flow in all directions, and that is the birthplace of where our people come from. And from splitting out, being an original tribe, you know, some people call Anishinaabe, the original people, you could inhabit the land, and you could make your farms, and you could hunt and fish, but the land could only supply so much for so many people. So the more that we multiplied, the more we had to move out a little bit to get some fresh land, for more property for farming, for hunting, and for fishing. And that would last for several generations, maybe, and we would multiply even more. And so, I wish I had a map of the United States, but you know, we started with the original tribe, and then all these little tribes started growing up around, you know, from over the generations and such. The original tribe we call the Anishinaabe, but you might hear today in a linguistic term as Algonquin. Now, the tribes that sprung from that original tribe were the Mohican, the Menominee, the Potawatomi, Cherokee, Narragansett, Miami, the Shawnee, I might have said that one already, the Munsee, the Ramapo, 20-some tribes that sprung from the Algonquin tribe. And we're all tied together by language. And even though we speak the same language, it's a little bit different dialect. And so that's how we can retrace ourselves back to say Michigan is the same place as Mohican, you know, the great waters that are unstill. To say Mohicanuk, that's what we call ourselves. It's like sort of a plural, saying those of the great waters that are never still, the Mohican people. And so we came into the Hudson Valley area 14,000 years ago, and we settled all up and along the river, and we lived our lives. We tilled the land, we hunted the land, we fished, never taking more than what we need. And we just lived in a symbiotic relationship all the way up until 1409 is when Henry Hudson, he was a Dutch trader. He came up what back then was called Mohicanaduk, which means the Mohican River is what the Hudson River is originally called, which was called for thousands of years, up to several hundred years ago. But our people had met him in 1609, and we had heard of the white traders that were going up and down the coast, and we had heard that there were amazing things that they had and that they liked to trade. And so when he came up the river, we greeted him. We went out into our canoes and were trying to establish some sort of trade with him. And of course he agreed, you know, and we set up, we allowed them to set up a fort. I believe it was called Fort Orange, and that's right around the Albany area off the Hudson River. That was the first trading fort that came about to the land. Now, when we allowed him the fort, see, there was a language gap there, and we allowed him to come and to set up a fort, and we would provide him with furs and such, and he would trade us for Oh, wonderful things, you know, like metal arrowheads and knives that we didn't have to keep remaking out of stone, metal pots and pans. We liked guns, you know, but they were careful not to give us too many, you know. But to them, they felt that we sold them the land and the land was theirs. But they didn't understand in our laws that when we give you a place to stay, whether you give some sort of tribute or whatever, we share the land in common. You know, and so after setting up Fort Orange, they would send their ships back to Europe and basically tell them that they've got a foothold on the land here and to send more ships and to send more people. And it became probably within just very early on, we realized that we weren't living together in a harmonious relationship. We couldn't cross onto their lands anymore. We couldn't go and fish their part of the river. It was theirs, and we weren't really understanding why they were saying this, because we actually allowed them to stay within our land. We were supposed to be as family, as brothers. We would provide for one another. We would provide food, and we would provide like beaver fur, otter fur, all kinds of animal furs, whatever they wanted, whatever they needed in Europe, and establish a good working relationship. But within probably, I believe, 5 years of contact, our first contact, 90% of my people died from disease, because there was a lot of disease like smallpox and cholera, a lot of things going around in Europe that my people didn't have a built-up immunity towards it. So a lot of my people actually died before even meeting any white people. They had no idea what was going through. We lived in communal living within longhouses. A longhouse is it's like a wigwam but stretched out, you know. And there was probably up to 10 families that would live in the longhouse. And we were a matriarchal society, so there was one woman that was in charge of the longhouse. Now, even though we would have a male spokesperson for the village, there was many villages, the women were always in charge of the longhouse. And her daughters would live there. And if any sons were to get married, you would go off to another longhouse. Our clan system, we have eagle, bear, wolf, turkey, turtle. These are the ones that we still remember to this day. And the clan is actually a way of looking at our last name. You know, we didn't take on our father's name, we took on our mother's clan. So if we were born of our mother, that was our clan. I'm Eagle Clan, because my mother was Eagle Clan, her mother was Eagle Clan. Didn't matter what my father was, you know, because fathers, men would go off and join another clan. They would still be the same clan, but their children would be of the mother's clan. So basically the women carried the last name throughout the nation. Now with disease that came through and ran rampant through everything, imagine a village with maybe 6 to 12 longhouses and possibly a couple hundred people, and a disease comes through and there's only maybe about 10 people left from different households, different clans, and the village kind of becomes obsolete. So a lot of these people, they had to go on to other villages and join other villages. You know, it wasn't so easy just to join into another clan, so we started living more in the wigwams. Now wigwams were traditionally winter hunting shacks that we would use. They weren't meant for single family use. We all lived together in like 10 family units. So, you know, if a woman's husband died, they didn't suffer, they suffered emotionally, but they didn't suffer financially. They didn't go hungry, they didn't go without, because everybody took care of one another. Everybody provided for one another. Nobody went without. There was no such thing as poverty. But once this started to upset our way of living, and people started scattering and living in single family units in new villages and stuff, that's when the poverty really set in. And our ways, so much of our ways, our culture, a lot of our traditions were lost because we have cultural carriers, traditional carriers, and our wise men and our shaman and stuff, none of them were impervious to the disease. We lost so many people who had so much knowledge, and we began to be scattered. And at the time we were being scattered, the Dutch and the English saw it a very good time to come in and start making some deals, some land deals and stuff. And they would make land deals with certain natives that were living on a certain part of land, you know, but those natives didn't have the right to let go of that land. Only the chief of the entire nation had the right to give away any type of land. So it was, in our way of thinking, it was illegally taken. Now, throughout, there was a lot of sketchy land deals where they would get our people drunk. We had no idea about alcohol, you know, so we were like, a lot of them were like drunk teenagers for the first time, you know, like, sure, I'll sign anything, you know, whatever, you know, kind of, you know, and it really took advantage of what was going on with us, and we never really got a chance to gather our original structure way back in how we handled things. So throughout the next couple hundred years, we lost so much of our land, and we kept losing. More diseases would come through and wipe out more people, and more of our land would be taken just because there was nobody there. And they believe they call it right of discovery. If there was nobody there, you could put a flag in and it's yours. You know, of course, you know, we can't do that today. You know, you can't just, well, there's nobody out there, it's my land now. You know, it doesn't make any sense. You know, so we lost a lot of that land all the way to Stockbridge, Massachusetts. That was our very last piece of land that we had. And we were becoming very few throughout the years. There was only maybe 2 groups of Mohicans left. One was under the chieftainship of Concopat, and the other one of Umpachini. And we were in a real terrible state. You have to understand, the people at that time were generations removed from the original people who met Henry Hudson. So at this point, we were already addicted to the trade items, to the metal pots and pans, the guns, the knives, everything that we used. We didn't remember how to do the old ways, how to go back out and just, you know, to say, oh, we don't need your stuff. We can go out there and make it on our own. There was nobody around anymore because we had traded for so long. And this was used against us in Stockbridge right about towards the end of the Revolutionary War, to where a lot of our men, every war that's been fought within New York State, Massachusetts, within the United States, our people have always given up our young men to go off to war, to fight, to help our brethren. We always call them our brothers or sisters, those people that are around us, you know, our friends. You know, but when we were off to war, many of these people would, I believe there was a man called Williams, he owned a store, and he would give a line of credit out to a lot of the women, and he would charge outrageous interest rates that they could never pay it back. And what would happen if you couldn't pay it back, the only thing you had to give was your land. And so they would sign over their land, otherwise they would have to go to debtor's prison. And nobody, of course, wanted to do that. So a lot of our men come home winning the Revolutionary War, helping, very instrumental in winning the Revolutionary War, to find out that their lands were taken. And what little lands were left, they were trying to hold on to. But of course, you know, with the guile of the people that were there, they decided that they weren't going to sell us any more trade goods, weren't going to trade with us anymore. You know, so eventually we had no choice but to give up our lands and to move out. And I believe that was right around the time of, I want to say Andrew Jackson's Indian Removal Act. So after the Revolutionary War, he wanted all Native Americans from the East Coast removed to the west side of the Mississippi, you know, to make room for America and such. And we accepted a short-term favor from the Oneidas of New York to go and stay with them until we figured out what was going on. And that was probably about 1784, I believe. And we stayed there for a good 30 to 40 years, you you know, a lifetime if you're a child growing up, you know, to be 40 years old. And then we decided we were going to move even further west because of the Indian Removal Act. And by the time we got down to Indiana, some of us went to Indiana, some of us went to Oklahoma, some of us went up to Canada, you know, and we weren't sure, you know, what we were going to do, who we could stay with. And it came down to it till the early or the mid 1800s, to where they were going to force us across the Mississippi. But we had petitioned the government and made a deal with the Menominee tribe in Wisconsin to buy a little sect of land over there. And so we had actually gotten a little bit of land. If you ever look at a map of reservations in Wisconsin, you'll see the big Menominee reservation, and ours is the little bitty corner in the side there. And we've been there since, I want to say 1859, I believe, is when it actually was totally agreed. We started moving back over towards there. And we've been there ever since. But that wasn't the end of a lot of our trials and tribulations. And I don't share this stuff to make anyone feel bad. It's things that people need to know that they don't teach you in school. These are things that are in history that are well documented, but not really freely taught in our public school systems. You know, there was the Child Removal Act in the late 1800s, to where all Native American children of worthy age, which was basically 4 years old and up, had to be taken out of the home, and you were shipped off to a mission school, most likely thousands of miles away. And you weren't allowed to wear your Native American clothes. You had to have your hair cut. You could not speak your language, or you were beaten. There was a lot of horrible things, and the saying back then was, kill the Indian, but save the man. And it was to do away with the Native American savage ways and such, you know. But a lot of our children went off to these schools, and they were changed. And a lot of them didn't come home until they were over 18 years old. And so when they did come home, they were completely different from their people. And it caused a lot of problems within the people, you know. And our people were upset. They were like, you ruined them, you know, what'd you do, kind of thing, you know. And they were taught that a lot of things were bad. Believing in your native customs were bad. Dancing at a powwow was evil. Speaking your language was evil. Anytime they did anything out of line, they were beaten really bad. A lot of kids died. A lot of kids were sexually molested. A lot of kids committed suicide because they just couldn't handle where they were. But when they come home and they begin to raise their own children, they begin to raise their own children the way they were raised in these mission schools, by beating them with sticks, maybe locking them in basements, or hanging them up by their hands in the tree and stuff. And it was nothing to them, because they thought, this is how I was raised. This is discipline, you know. And so what that becomes, it becomes an intergenerational trauma, you know, within Native Americans. And it's still prevalent today, the intergenerational trauma. And when my grandmother was alive, she just started going back to powwows, because she was one of those who was raised, you can't do that stuff. That's evil, you know, that's bad, you know, that's not what natives should be doing and stuff. But she ended up making herself go, and she'd have a good time. But I remember talking with her, and she still said she felt uncomfortable because of her upbringing. Now, there was a big Native movement in the 60s, you know, to bring back a lot of the old ways, to bring back pride and stuff, but this intergenerational trauma still exists today. And I'll give you a short example. For myself, I went to this training for healing unresolved grief, intergenerational trauma. And I'm listening to one of these speakers who were talking about her mother, who went to one of these mission schools. And she said that her mother, you know, she knows her mother loved her and her sisters and stuff, you know, but her mother would really beat the hell out of them when they were younger. And one thing she never heard out of her mother's mouth was, I love you. She knew her mother loved her and her sisters and stuff, but that was something that she never heard, you know, and I had an epiphany at that moment, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the same thing in our house. My mom never told us that she loved, she could tell her friends how much she loved her kids, talk about how she loved her kids, but it was so hard for her to tell us face to face that she loved us, you know. And it brought tears to my eyes, you know, because it was just like, wow, you know, I know my mom loved me, you know, and all of our, she had 10 kids, she loved us, you know, but we never had that, you know, them spoken words to each other, you know, and they teach us in this class, you know, that first thing is you have to identify the problem and then fix it, you know. So I remember I'm talking to my mom on the phone, you know, this is when she was still alive, and I don't remember what we're talking about, but at the end of the conversation, I'm like, all right, Mom, well, I gotta go. You know, and it's like, I said, I love you. And she's like, oh. And she like paused for a second, and she was like, I love you too. You know, and it was an amazing experience because I never remember my mom saying that. And it was like from that day forward, I kept saying it to her, and she would say it to me, and she's saying it to my brothers and sisters. And like nowadays, my brothers and sisters, we tell each other how much we love each other because we never did that before. You know, and I just come to that realization that that's something that happened so long ago, but it still resonates through the generations. You know, and some people tell us, oh, well, that stuff happened a long time ago. Why don't you get over it? It's like, we can't get over it. We're still dealing with it. And so many people, so many families out there are still dealing with it, with alcoholism, with going to prison and feeling not good enough and not having love in the family. And it was just very sad, a very, very sad thing that had happened from the cultural trauma into the intergenerational trauma from the mission schools, even from our land and our own system of our clan mothers who ran everything, and how everything was set. There was nobody was poor, nobody had want for it, everybody was taken care of. But many Native American tribes, you know, before the casino days, you know, were very poor, almost third world country, you know. And you know, to see a lot of this stuff that comes in, and even out in I believe Red Cliff and some of the Lakota tribes out there, they're still very poor, you know, and it's just horrible what they're going through. And it's nothing to do with genetics, why they're alcoholics, it's just they have nothing. There's nothing out there. There aren't even places that they can work to bring themselves out of it. So there's a lot of pain that is still out there, not only in the land, but along with our people that we still carry. And those of us who have gone through these trainings, we learn about these things. And it doesn't do us any good to be hateful, but we need to learn what happened. And we also need to learn to share with other people what happened, you know, to better understand us on why maybe we are the way we are, you know. But from the minute Henry Hudson stepped onto our shores here in Albany, it's been suffering for a long, long time. I mean, even up to the 1960s, where there's plenty of cases documented where Native American women would go have their children born in a clinic, and the doctors would sterilize them. You know, it was a way of reducing our numbers. And a lot of people don't realize that that happened. And also, it wasn't until the Religious Freedom Act of 1978 that we actually had the right to practice our religion again, to actually sing our songs, our old songs, to do it. But there's still a lot of people who will still do it in hiding out in the woods, you know, not letting people see. You know, I still find people who just will not show anybody. That's why they're so scared to let other people know. You know, so we're still healing. We're still healing from that initial trauma that was sent out way back then. Well, one of the things that helped us get through, especially with the rise of pride and such in the 60s, going on through the 70s, is the big drum. It's a very healing instrument. And it's something that had to be hidden away for a while, you know, out of the eyes of, you know, strangers, sometimes out of the eyes and ears of our own people. because they had grown up in a certain way to say that's bad, and if I find out you're doing that, we're gonna burn your house down, or they set us against each other, but the drum, it persevered and it helped. And today, we are actually seeing the reversal of the intergenerational trauma. It's still out there, but there's a lot of healing that still needs to be done. And like I told you, I believe I said it earlier, with these gifts, with the drum, with song and dance, it's all spiritual. It's gifts given to us by the spirits to help us for healing, to help us for communing with the spirits and such. And that's why when I came here, John asked me to come, and I was kind of skeptical if I should share that story, and he's like, no, I think you should share it. Don't make it, all, cleaned up and everything. People need to hear the truth. And the truth is, we're still trying to come out of it, but we have this big drum. Big drum is the heartbeat of Mother Earth. Now, you might have, everybody here I'm sure has seen either been to Apollo or seen on TV and stuff where you see a bunch of men sitting around the drum, and you see the women who make a circle around the men singing around the drum too. Now, the original story is that the drum, that was all women who were to sit around the drum. Unfortunately, I ain't got enough time to tell you that story, but if you're here at 6:30 in the morning, I'll share that story. Okay? But I'd like to sing a song, and I'd like to ask all of you as well, to meditate during the song, have that energy, that healing energy, to go into the land, to go into to the universe, to help not only my people, Native people, maybe people because there are other people who suffer from intergenerational trauma, like the Irish people, for one, who have gone through a lot of things that happened long ago to a people that get passed down through generations. Some of you may suffer from intergenerational trauma and might not even know it. We have our parents who have done things to us and such, and we grew up thinking, well, that's normal. That's just the way it's supposed to be, but it's not. And it's because something was done to them when they were younger, and to their parents, and so far back. And so I'm gonna sing this song, and I would like everybody to concentrate that energy on healing, that universal healing, to healing all the people of the trauma that they've been through, and to make life bearable again, to be able to trust one another. And that was another thing that, that was the result of it, is that us Native Americans, we don't even trust each other, some of us on the reservation, because that's what was put into us, to scatter us out. We weren't supposed to live as a community. We had to be individual families, and we didn't share land in common. We had to be spread out and just basically worry about yourself, is what we were taught. But like I said, if you can concentrate with me and help healing all people, your own ancestors, your own family, my family, people next to you, very appreciated. Thank you. Anyway, up to the thoughts. Thank you. In my heart. Thank you. Thank you all. And so I'll get more into the dynamics of the drum teachings tomorrow. But I'd like to get into a little bit more of what can I explain, like with powwow dancing and such, and powwows. Now, powwows are not the tell-all ceremonial way that it's done. It's basically, powwows are for the public, and so you'll find a lot of different powwows that are different throughout the United States and how things are done. But basically, you have a circle. Sometimes I've seen it different to where you have the drummers will be in the center of the circle, and the dancers will come in from the east side and form a circle and counterclockwise and dance around the drums. In some other places, I've seen it where there's the fire, the sacred fire is in the center, and that's where the dancers will come in. And you'll find a lot of different styles of dancers. You have your traditional dancers, traditional buckskin dancers, your southern cloth dancers, your fancy dancers, you have women's jingle dress dancers. There's a lot of different categories that go on. I always, the way it was explained to me, the categories are good categories, but your regalia is something that should reflect your spirit, your soul. You know, your regalia. One thing, let me give you some good advice. Never tell a Native American that he's got a nice costume on. That pisses him off. It's not a costume. They'll say it's a regalia, and costumes are for Halloween type of thing. Not a lot of people know that, so that's a good thing to remember. But and that's where, for me, I don't know if some of you see my picture on Facebook. I have a buffalo skin outfit, what was just way too hot this weekend to bring. And I have a couple. I guess my spirit is a spirit of many flavors and tastes, because I've got so many. I'm bad. I've got like a whole closet full of things. It's like, what am I going to wear? But it's a reflection of your spirit. And you go out and dance. People dance. They dance for a lot of reasons. Some will say, I dance for those who can't. As I was telling you, dancing is a form of prayer, as well as singing. We come in, we bring in our eagle staffs, we bring in our flags, our United States flag, the POW, MIA flags. Our veterans are very, very, very highly respected within the Native community. They're probably one of the highest ranked people within your tribe as our veterans, our warriors. And they lead everybody out. They come out in front of all of the dancers, come around in the circle. They make one circle and then they stop and they present their flags, until the song is done. And then they post the colors and such. So we're very big on our veterans. We're very, very big on our elders and our women. The drum story is a song of respect for women that we teach all our young men who come and sit on the drum, because they can't drum with us. At least where I'm from, you can't drum unless you have that story and you understand that story, because there's too much disrespect going on for women these days, that these men and this sacred spiritual instrument that they use, they need to realize the sacrifices that the women have gone through. And I'm going to try hard not to tell too much of that story. I'm telling too much, but it's a good story. So if you can come at 6:30 in the morning, that would be great. But the drum, like I said, it's the heartbeat of Mother Earth, and you have to have good thoughts, good energies, because you're giving energy to that drum. And when you have that energy, everybody in the circle is on cue, and everybody has, mentally and spiritually, in the same way as drum becomes a portal for that spirit of that drum to come out, and it heals people. I've seen a lot of amazing things that have happened, as long as everybody around the drum, has the same idea and is in the same wavelength. And it's been an amazing gift. And that's exactly what it is. It's a gift from the spirits to give to us for our healing, for our medicines, for our celebrations, for our honoring, for everything, every facet of life that we have. So after that first row of dancers come out and they post the flag colors, they'll sing a veteran song. Now, I think what I'm going to do, we have a word for warrior, and it's Ogichida is the word. Now, the word Ogichida doesn't really translate over to warrior. What it means is, literally, is the one with the big heart. And it kind of means he or she is kind of like a neutral word, for the person with the big heart. And I would like to sing a warrior song, a Gichida song, for our Gichida this weekend, for John, and for everybody. I'm getting a brain bubble here. Everybody who put this together this weekend, and those who have that huge heart, who have sacrificed so much, because I've seen them early this morning, these guys running around trying to get everything done just to make the space for everyone here. And that's what the Ogichida does. They sacrifice a lot, just like the women do, to make sure that to hold space for everyone here. A lot of work went into this for them. So what I would like to do is to sing this song in honor of, I feel so bad, I forget your name. John, mention the Ogichida. Say, Jen. Lisa. Yes. This song is for you. Okay, now I'm gonna tell you what the words mean. Now, I should have explained earlier that when we sing in vocables, or sometimes we sing in words. Now, your own voice is a musical instrument, and you can take all of what you're feeling inside and put it into just vocables. It doesn't have to be words, but it comes out as a prayer. Just like a violin doesn't speak any words, but you can really feel that person's spirit putting forth, So, but the words to this is Ogichida, Vitikana, Nimiya. It means ones with the big hearts, come on out here and dance. But you don't have to dance. I'm going to make you dance in front of everybody. But this is an honor song for all of you Gichida, Gichida Kwe, who have put on everything you did for this week and for all of us. Thank you, Warriors, for this weekend. So a lot of our songs, they're honor songs. It's honor and praying, you know, for those honored people that we select them for. And a lot of songs, what we at the powwow we call intertribal, are just the good time songs, get people up and dance and stuff. A lot of times I do like to get people up and get them dancing, but you know, it's really hot. Yeah. And probably make it really uncomfortable. So I'm not going to make you guys get up and dance. But, let's see. After the Warriors song, they also do a flag song, which honors our flags, honors them, and for our flag, we also, each tribal nation has their own flag, not only just our tribal nation flag, but you know, the POW/MIA flag, the United States of America flag and stuff, and so we really honor our standards and our flags. And I'm gonna sing a song that one of our people back home had written for our Mohican veterans. It's an honor song. You know, we call it a flag song, but it is still an honor song, actually. thank you for all those who have served in the military, those who have paid the highest price and are still paying the price today for our freedom, all of our warriors, our warrior men, our warrior women, those who have served and protect us all. Oh. This next song I'm going to sing it's an honor song, just in case some of you can't make it in the morning tomorrow. This is an honor song for all the women and for us men. You know, of course we all know women, you know, and they've made so many sacrifices, whether it be our mother, our grandmother, our sisters, our aunties, those who sacrifice so much into their lives, sacrifice their bodies to give birth, sacrifice their time to help us out with the things that we need. Sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. Women have always been sacrificed. And so to truly honor the women at this time, I'd like to ask all the men to stand up and honor someone of the women in your family, women in this room, someone who's sacrificed much for you in your lifetime so that you can be who you are and be here today. And you women, just take it easy, sit back, this song is for you. Thank you from our hearts, us men's hearts, to all of you, ladies. Thank you. This song is for you. Okay, guys, you can grab this.
about 15 minutes.
And the older I get, the more of a rest I need to give my voice. I guess this is a good time if anybody has any kind of questions that you might want to ask and you never have the chance and stuff. Now's your chance. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah?
Could you just explain your regalia?
Sure. Well, for one, this is my fan. This is a prayer fan. This belonged to a very good friend of mine who passed away about 15 years ago. He was only 29 years old, and he had an enlarged heart, and he had passed away when he was young, 29, still very young. And when we have people who pass away in Native American communities, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll take their spiritual items and we'll put them away for a year. And after a year goes by, we take them things out, we give them away to people. And his fiance had gifted me this fan that was his. And so for me, when I take it, whether I'm doing smudging or I'm doing blessings or cleansing places, he's always with me. He's always with me. I've got this, I don't know if you can tell, there's a little bear symbol here. It's a bear paw, because he was Bear Clan. He was from the Bear Clan people. My sash here, this was made from a very good friend of mine. It's all beaded. And we have these standing eagles on the side there. And that's my spirit name, is Migizi Gabo, which is standing eagle. And she worked like for months to bead this completely for me. And on the side here, this is called the many trails symbol. This is a symbol that's not very old, actually. It's probably about 50 years old. It was made by a man from our tribe. I know it by Mr. Martin is what it is. But because we were back in when the Stockbridge days, we were primarily a Christian tribe. That's where you have this cross in the center here, which represents Jesus. And we also have these two circles here, which represent the many camps from when we were removed. We moved to Oneida County, New York, and we went to Canada, we went out to Oklahoma, the many camps that we had endured. The top bent peak part here, that represents strength. And I embarrassingly forget what this bottom part is, but I'll go back home and relearn that part. You know, but that's the many, it's called the many trails symbol, you know, because of the many trails that our people have gone through. This here, this has a little carved eagle on the top because of my name. A good friend of mine, mine and John DeCott, Jennifer Reese, she had gifted this to me, and it was gifted to her by another friend who wanted to come out and meet me on one of my presentations, but couldn't make it and stuff. So it's always been something that I valued very much, and plus I like it. It looks nice. You know? This here is another many trail symbol. This beaded necklace here that I have, made by a good friend of mine. My choker here, that's basically a lot of Native Americans wear chokers and stuff. But I have bear claws on the bottom here because I work with people who are medicine people. Bear Clan people are medicine people, and a bear is a very healing animal. And this, it can't come off. It never comes off. I'd have to cut it off if I ever wanted to take it off. So it's been on me for years, and it kind of reminds me to do good things, to do healing things, to help other people, you know. And if anything, not to gain too much weight, or it really will be another choker. My breechcloth here, just beaded. I again, that was my friend who had passed away, but he had actually gifted this to me while he was still alive. He was changing his regalia over, and so he gifted it out to me probably about 20 years ago. My shirt, my ribbon shirt, is that my wife made for me. The little pouch is just stuff to stick stuff into, carry along and stuff. And it's just everything, basically everything I have has a story and it has a person connected to it. So I bring these people with me, and they're my strength, and they're my helpers, and I feel stronger having this stuff with me with so much, support, that I've had throughout my lifetime. Also this is all beadwork here too, and that was done by another friend of mine who saw that I was on the right path and doing things with history and with language, with culture and stuff, and decided to make that for me because I was starting to go to powwows and stuff and wanted to dance, so they really tried to deck me out for a while there. The eagle feathers, these were for certain deeds that I've done within the community that were gifted to me by elders and other cultural people as well. So a regalia, for me, not only does it reflect your spirit, but it's also everything I have has a story, basically, except for like I said, the little choker that's just for books, kind of. But most of what I have, is people that I bring along with me wherever I go. Is there anybody else? I mean, I'm here all weekend too, so if you're too embarrassed to ask, you can ask me later if you want. Yeah.
Can you just briefly tell the story of the evolution of you being here, this festival? I was there at the Chamber of Commerce in Stockbridge, and you dancing on your ancestral land, and just the backstory behind it.
Me and John Ducat, we have a friend mutual named Jennifer Reese who teaches at the Kripalu Center, and she's from Canada, and she moved down here 25 plus years ago, and she just happened to have been walking around on her land and finding little stones and stuff, and she had wondered to herself, I wonder where the original people of this land were, because she said that she didn't think there was any Native Americans around, so she wondered where they were. So she began to ask some of her friends at work and such, and she ran into a historian in Stockbridge. His name was Lion Miles, and he put her in contact with our tribe out in Wisconsin to come out there because she wanted to come out and to do something for our people to bring recognition out here that we are still here, that we haven't, there's no such thing as the last of the Mohicans. We did survive, and so she had this idea with these Tibetan prayer flags to bring them to our people, to Wisconsin, to have us write prayers on the flags for those of us who could never make it out here, because the majority of our tribal people out there in Wisconsin have never been here. Only a few of us actually come out here, make the pilgrimage. So she brought these flags over there for people to write their names on and everything, and to put up, as an honor, for the summer at the time. And I was part of our tribe's language and culture board, and when I read what was going on, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to check this woman out, see what the heck she wants, to find out what it is, just make sure she's on the level and everything. And I met her, and through meeting her, we came out and we met, I believe it was a man, Fidel, I believe his name, he's Native American, he's a promoter, and he put together the first rock, rattle, and drum powwow in the Berkshires. And my drum, or my drum group that I belonged to at that time, was the host drum at that first powwow. They wanted to bring our people back out. We brought at least probably 25 of us out there, drummers and dancers and stuff, and we came out. And we met a lot of people, and from that time on, I've been invited back more times, especially through Kripalu, where she worked, and working through there, I met John. To me, is the greatest hand drummer on earth, and stuff. And meeting John, and just really clicking with him, and always saying, yeah, we got to get together and do something, You know, usually, but John, he's like a globetrotter. He's everywhere and stuff, you know. It's real hard to, you know, find him, you know, at the times that I do come out here. But when I do come out, you know, we get together. You know, this is one of the results of coming, you know, being here today is connecting with John through Jennifer, you know, back 15 some years ago, I believe. So it was just meeting one person that met another person through the Kripalu Center, which sometimes I come and do presentations down there or concerts and stuff, and just meeting a lot of people. Every time I come out here, I meet tons of wonderful, wonderful people. So it's like a connection, a network of people that I've made out here coming from the original time. Was that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I was there when you danced in Stockbridge, and it was a very moving
Okay.
experience, you know, and that birth so many seeds. Just the story is inspiring.
It's developed
So thank
quite
you.
a bit since then, yeah.
Can we save questions for afterwards, or do we have to do the whole soundtrack for the next thing? We're so happy.
Yeah. See, I told you I need somebody to come tell me something. Okay, well, it was great for all of you to come. Thank you for being so helpful, spiritual, loving. Thank you all for